Hey, what's up, you guys? So you guys are brand new SDRs and you want to figure out how can I do really well in my first 30 days on the job? Well, I'm about to give you 5 cold calling tips that'll help you crush it in your first 30 days. You're watching the Branding Hustle. On this channel, we give you sales advice and we give you branding advice. You can merge them together to make yourself a better personal brand and a sales machine. And my name is Darryl Darks. In my sales career, I've sold over $15 million in ARR, that's annual recurring revenue. So I can't wait to share with you some tips on how to be a better SDR. So tip number 1 is you have to get great at prospecting. So cold calling is a numbers game, right? So you need to understand, if I'm going to be successful, I need to cold call a certain amount of people within this day, this week, this month, if my success is going to be consistent. So what I like to use is a tool called usphonebook.com. So let's say you jumped on LinkedIn, you sorted through who the ideal prospects are. You can send them a cold email, yes, and we're going to go over that in later videos. Today, though, is all about cold calling. So what I would do is grab that person's name and understand what city they're in, jump on usphonebook.com, and just simply type it in. Just look for them. You'll be surprised how often you'll find somebody's cell phone number on there. And so you can just grab their cell phone number and just cold call them. Done. Now you're getting direct access versus if you were to call like the office line, you got to go through the receptionist and maybe to somebody else, and maybe you get a voicemail. Like, you don't want to do that. You want to have quick and high contact within the cold calling space. So get straight to somebody by getting their cell phone number through usphonebook.com. Cool? So tip number 2 is mastering the intro. So now that you found them on usphonebook.com, you found out where they are, this is their phone number, you're calling them, they've answered. What you need to do is get really great at pitching the first 2 to 3 lines of your intro. It has to sound really smooth. You can't sound like you're reading, you can't sound awkward, you gotta be really smooth with the intro, because this person on the other end has no clue about you, your services, your business. It's gonna feel weird that they're just getting a random call from a stranger, right? So you have to ease them in to the fact that you are somebody they don't know, but you actually have a service for them that's super valuable. So get really good at the intro so you can get their attention long enough to get into what really matters, which is the pitch. Tip number 3, master tonality in the pitch. So this is where now you've done the intro, right? And you've gotten their attention. You probably have asked for permission in your pitch of, hey, can I pitch you? Hey, can I give you a 1-minute rundown of what it is that we do? They've agreed at this point. They say, okay, all right, you got me on the phone. What you're talking about is relevant to my industry. It's relevant to me as a professional. What do you have for me? And so they say, okay, you can pitch me. Now what you want to do is really sound really stinking good. You got to sound great in the pitch or they're not going to want to listen to you. This is where you really separate yourself from other cold callers to someone that's a professional that knows what they are talking about, right? So what I would do is use a term that is called subdued enthusiasm throughout your pitch, because you can be on the other side of it and you can sound like maybe like the OxyClean guy and hey, this is my product, I want to pitch it, and be on level 10, or you can be on level, I don't know, 5 through 7, somewhere in there, to where you sound enthusiastic, but you're not over the top, and you're also not below a 5 to where you sound really freaking boring, right? So have a little enthusiasm to you, just a smidgen, so somebody knows that, okay, you actually like your job, and you have passion for what you do. But then again, you're not over the top, so you don't come off too pushy, and to where they're not thinking this person is really trying to sell me right now. They're thinking, okay, this person genuinely is excited about what they have to sell. Okay, this is cool. You want to sound like that. However you can make that sound in your voice and make it natural, you are golden. I promise you, you will set a lot of demos with really great prospects if you can sound genuine and have a subdued enthusiasm in your pitch. Tip number 4 is asking qualifying questions. So you want to ask really good qualifying questions, and let me give you an example of what a good qualifying question would be. So I used to sell architects back in the day, and it's very easy to be like, hey architect, how many more jobs do you want? You don't want to do that. That's for an architect, they're more artistic. right? They're not like just thinking it's a job and I'm just going to do my job and that's it. Like their projects are a real representation of them as artisans. And so if you just say, hey, how many more jobs do you want? It's not going to really bode well for you. So you need to say something that's really more in alignment with the prospect. You got to say something like, okay, so you have 3 projects on your boards right now. Gotcha. Okay, well, over the next 90 days, I see that you're a one-man, a one-woman operation. How many more new projects, let's say custom homes, do you want to put on your boards over the next 3 months? See, that's a different way of asking, like, how many more jobs do you want? It's like, okay, listen, I'm talking about projects because I know you think of your jobs as projects. I'm talking about your boards because that's how you organize your projects in your day kind of a thing. That's relevant to you. And I'm asking you, hey, I know you're a small firm here. So realistically, if it's just you, like how many more projects could you put on those boards over the next 90 days? That sentence right there, that resonates with them. They're like, okay, I'm talking to somebody who knows about my industry. I should trust you. And so you're going to see your show rate go through the roof for doing things like this because they're thinking, okay, this person's a pro. I'm actually excited for them to tell me what they have to offer because it could be good for me. All right, and that leads me to tip number 5, build credibility before the transfer. So let's say you've set this demo, you've done a really good job cold calling, you had great qualifying questions that you were asking to the prospect. Now it's time to officially transfer this prospect over to the exec. So one thing that's really going to help the close rate of the exec if you build them up in the eyes of your prospect. I would tell the prospect, hey, so I'm going to transfer you over to John Smith, Susie Q, whoever, right? This person is an absolute expert in the field of blank. So this person is an absolute expert in the field of architecture when it comes to marketing, when it comes to advertising, when it comes to anything that's relevant to what you're selling. They're going to walk you through step by step what's going to happen next on the platform or find other ways to build them up. So this person is an absolute expert when it comes to marketing in your industry, when it comes to advertising in your industry. They've worked with X amount of people in your industry before and they're really good at it. They've gotten these results. I'm super excited for you guys to have a conversation about what you and I've been speaking about. So they're going to take care of you from here on out, and feel free to email them and communicate with them. And if you can't get them on the line, feel free to give me a shout via phone or email. I'm super happy to help. But this person's going to be really good for you. All right, do anything that you can to build them up because what's going to happen, you have this prospect that you've been working with for the last few days, a week, whatever. Now that you're passing them over to this exec, it's kind of like, ooh, like this is what your prospect is thinking. They're thinking like, okay, so now you're passing me over to the closer, huh? Right? And you'll see their walls kind of go up a little bit. Like, okay, all right, you're just the little intro person. Now I'm going to talk to the big wig over here. He's going to close me down, right? And so you want to get them off of that train of thought and start thinking about like, what are ways I can build up my exec that just sounds natural, right? That just like makes this whole transition really smooth. If you don't have a good transition, what's going to happen is the adverse effect. You're going to have somebody think like, okay, so I'm getting passed off to this person who's just going to close me, and that feels weird. Like, don't have that happen. Save yourself and put yourself in a better position to make a lot of money and do really good in your first 30 days when you have good transfers. Cool? So this has been 5 cold calling tips for SDRs in your first 30 days. Hope you guys found the video helpful. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. This is the Branded Hustle, and we'll see you on the next one.